Good morning and welcome to Cold Beers and Curveballs. I am your host, Chase Almy. Hello? Oh, wait, I forgot. Corey fucking flaked on me again. But that's all right because we've got a great show for you guys coming up. We've got the always beautiful and always smart Jessica Kleinschmidt from Cut 4, MLB.com's social side of things. They focus more on, the personalities of baseball, much less than the actual playing on the field. There are some clips of that, but it's more of get to know your players and get to know things. We'll have her on in the show instead of Corey, and she does know her shit. She was featured in a book called The Definitive Guide of Fantasy Baseball, so we'll talk about that as well. But I guess let's look into some news, guys. We're sorry about the post taking so long. We were having some technical difficulties getting things up and running, but now things look like they are good. But moving on, it looks like everybody but Lance Lynn, Mike Moustakas, Jake Arrieta, and Alex Cobb have pretty much found a home. Most of these players have been offered deals. They just didn't bite on them. Scott Boras still thinks that he can get Arrieta a deal bigger than Yu Darvish, and every day that doesn't happen, that kind of is a telltale sign that it won't. Shohei Ohtani is kind of being held secretive back at the camp out in Arizona. People not really wanting him to see. They're doing a lot of stuff on the backfields, batting practice and stuff, but he did come out the other day, made a plate appearance or two, and pitched 2 innings, and I think threw 8 strikeouts or 2.5 or something. It was some fucking crazy shit. I think he's going to live up to his name. Also, Ichiro Suzuki signs that 1-year deal with the Seattle Mariners to go back home. If that doesn't say farewell tour and retirement after this season, I don't know what else would. And big news here in Dallas, Tim Lincecum gets that major league deal. Looks like it's going to be about $1 million for a 1-year deal. He passed the physical, not going to wear 55, going to wear 44 in honor of his brother who suddenly died this past week. Nothing confirmed on it, anything like that. With that happening, though, it's caused some stuff in the rotation or in the roster to move. A great catcher prospect, pretty much The Athletic had an article that said 51 of the 53 players that we had, like Justin Grimm, Mike Olt, Nick Tepesh, they are now gone, and I believe it was Brett Nichols that left. There was quite a few people in the media who were kind of pissed off about that, which Jonathan Lucroy also doesn't have a home yet. They think that maybe Nichols or Lucroy could be going to the Rockies. Lucroy finished up with the Rockies last year. But other than that, guys, I guess it's time to go ahead and welcome her. So, guys, as promised at the first of the podcast, we have Jessica Kleinschmidt from MLB.com. She works in the Cut 4 department, which is the most entertaining part of MLB.com. It's got all the cool social media feeds and stories that are kind of outlying of baseball. That's not so much with what's played within the lines. It's kind of outside of it. So she brings a cool perspective, and she's also a fantasy girl, which is a lot of fun for guys like me and Corey who are all about fantasy. Not so much now from what she's been telling me, but how are you, Jessica?
I'm good. I'm trying to stay warm. I looked outside and it just started snowing out of nowhere, so that's fine.
Oh, well, nice. You get that good old Reno, Nevada snow.
Yeah, people forget that it snows here. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, people forget that it snows here too in Texas.
Yeah.
Not as often, but we get that once a year storm, and people around here worry more about ice than snow. But
Right.
Stay warm and try to, not have to get out tonight. So I'm gonna get this one off the bat first. How many marriage proposals are you turning down a day?
Gosh. Well, from social media, probably anywhere from 1 to 3, depending on if I'm on it with like a good tweet or something like that. Nobody ever talks to me in real life, though. They never approach me in person, but all of a sudden everybody has all these balls over social media, so it's always kind of fun.
Is that because you look like Topanga?
People think I look like Topanga. I don't think I look like her as much as I used to. My hair is a little bit darker than it used to be, but yeah.
No, I'm not gonna lie. I pulled 10 of my best friends together, and we creeped on the old Instagram, and we could definitely see the Topanga thing. So is that something that you've had follow your whole life, because you have the hashtag not Topanga?
Yeah, so it was in high school where it kind of became popular. A couple of the guys in school would say that I looked like Topanga, and I didn't really get into the show until after like the fourth person said I looked like her. And then I realized the show was just a fun show, and I started watching it. I went to prom with a guy named Corey. My middle name's Danielle, and her real name's Danielle. And it's just like funny how that kind of worked out too. She threw out the first pitch at a Dodgers game, and some of my friends that were there working thought I was actually her. So I mean, it's a compliment. It's a hell of a compliment. But lately, it hasn't been as often. But it just kind of stuck with me throughout high school and college. People didn't even know my real name in college. It just called me Topanga. So it just stayed.
Wow, that's rough when that's what people call you. They don't even know that your name's Jessica. They just call you Topanga.
I mean, there's worse things that people have called me, so I'm not too worried.
Oh, well, that's a shame. No, you probably will have to turn down at least 5 marriage proposals within this 15-minute interview. So, hope you're ready. Hope you're ready for that, because Topanga was my childhood crush, and if you can give me honest answers about WHIP and WAR and outlook on baseball, I'm pretty well set.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's what we're going with. But no, you write for Cut 4. You are based out of Nevada, which doesn't really have an MLB team, but thanks to things like MLB TV and things like that, you're able to stay up. So, what got you into sports writing?
I love to talk, and I love baseball. And when I was younger, I thought all you could really do as a woman in sports was be a sideline reporter. And I thought, I'm not taking that away from the actual sideline reporters, because I think it's obviously a very important job.
Don't hate on my Erin Andrews.
I don't. I was actually called many times. People thought I'd be the next Erin Andrews, and so that's definitely a compliment, because she works really hard. But as I progressed in my career, I thought, well, there's more than I can do, and I want to be diverse. You have to be diverse in this industry, because it's a very scarce industry to find a job. So you want to make sure that you're good at kind of a little bit of everything. And luckily, with my platform, I am. So as I was going throughout my career, I thought there was a couple times I wanted to give up on it, because it's just like a really sketchy industry. Not gonna lie, it's difficult to kind of find one job that you can be at full time. But I got lucky in that aspect. So the easier way is, I got discovered and just worked really hard, and, 3-4 years into it, I have a full-time gig with MLB.
Right. That's awesome that you worked from, what was it, like a small, Oakland A's blog that you had, and moved on from there?
Yeah, very, very small blog. I just did it for fun. I probably blogged on it once a week, if that, and somebody liked it and just kind of picked me up, and my content kept getting out there, and people discovered it, and I developed like a personality for myself, which I'm pretty much my exact self on social media for the most part. I don't cuss as much as I do in real life, but beyond that, I'm pretty much myself. And I just pushed my content out there, made networking connections and everything like that, and here we are.
Right. See, and that's the thing I've got to work on, is I've got to work on less cussing. My grandma actually found this podcast on iTunes not too long ago and listened to it. And the things that I was told by her, like, I guess she referred it to a group of her friends, like, you should listen to my grandson before she listened. And she was not too thrilled with some of the things that came out of my mouth.
Oh yeah.
So, but no, so you're working with Cut 4 now, and that's giving you a lot of opportunities. So you worked for FanDuel, you have a book about fantasy sports. So was that really the angle that you worked? Like, is that something that's always been interesting to you, or?
Well, I haven't done fantasy in a while, but the one fantasy aspect that I was really geeked out about was Ballpark Factors. And that had a lot to do with, not just, people think of Coors Field and they automatically assume like, oh, you're going to hit a bomb over the fence every time. And people forget, Coors Field is one thing, but you have to think about the altitude, and weather is certainly important. And the humidity's going into Chase Field is something you have to think of. And Chase Field's already like a really great field to batting wise, offensively, which is great to think about. But as I was doing the fantasy stuff, I realized how important it actually was, especially from a daily fantasy perspective. But then I realized, from a season long perspective, it's important too. If you want to have a really, Rockies heavy lineup, knowing they're going to be at Coors for half of their games, that's something you have to think about. But, certain little, fun little chicken nuggets that you have is, Coors Field's also very difficult to play on from an outfielder's perspective. Charlie Blackmon is a lot of times analyzed as we're surprised he does so well because of the way that the outfield's made, and we're surprised his knees haven't gone out, or the foul territory at the Coliseum, little things like that. And I kind of really fell in love with that aspect. So that was a chapter that I wrote in our book last year, and I can bring it kind of to my Cut 4 stuff, because you kind of have a better layout of where the fans will be, or just to watch a game in perspective, and you studied so much on it. And, obviously there's new stadiums being built. SunTrust is new. So that was kind of fun to see how batters fare there and everything like that. But that was definitely something that I really fell in love with. And I'm glad I was given the opportunity to do a chapter on that.
See, and that's really cool that you mentioned that, because Texas, where we're at in Dallas, the Globe Life Park now, it'll always be Ballpark in Arlington to Corey and I, but they are very well known for their jet stream, that if you get the ball into that, it'll carry it out. And a lot of talk around here, baseball wise, has been the offensive production. Is that going to change in the next couple of years? Because the way that the ballpark is going to sit is actually going to change the angle and the wind flow. So that, I think that's very awesome. Like, it may change stats here in baseball for Rangers and teams playing the Rangers in a heavy AL West division. It might change how things are played and how they work lineups.
Yeah. And that's something that it's always fun to think about. Right. And, I live in Reno, so I'm really familiar with the Pacific Coast League, and pretty much all the fields in the Pacific Coast League are all Coors fields. You think of, Nevada is located in Reno, or the Greater Nevada field's located in Reno, Nevada, which is a higher elevation. Same thing with Vegas. And they have them in Colorado Springs and everything like that. So that's always something fun to think about in that aspect. And then, like you mentioned, the way that the wind flow is going, temperature is always important. Humidity is always a factor. Little nuggets like that. And then you think of Yu Darvish's pitching. Our cutter is going to be cutting the same way in a very cold atmosphere, and everything like that. So and that's not just from a fantasy perspective, that's a front office thing that they think about too. How are they going to fare in a certain weather or an altitude, or, even community type of involvement too. So it's definitely bigger than just, oh, okay, we know that at Coors Field it's high up. That's cool. There's more to it than that.
Right. And do you think, because I know we've talked about, both wanting the stirrups hat. You are an Oakland A's fan. Did your ideas in fantasy and stuff come from Moneyball, or is that just something that you've always kind of been? No, not at all.
No, I think it's stupid to have that mentality playing fantasy baseball for the entire way. But there are certain times where you're thinking of a small little stack in a certain aspect could be Moneyball-ish. But I think that's silly to kind of go into it like all Moneyball mentality, because being an A's fan is the most difficult thing in the world. It's been a very emotional 20 years. I can't even describe it. And I was just on the podcast with Dallas Braden, and when you didn't hear some of us talking about it, but I was just like, growing up watching him was great. But then you think about it, like, being an A's fan is seriously the most stressful thing in the world sometimes.
But you guys are diehards.
We are.
You guys win and lose with you live and die with the team. I had a buddy that actually pitched out there, Travis Blackley. I believe he pitched with them for 2 stints. Yeah. And he by far loved the Bay Area sports scene, and he really loved the Coliseum. He loved playing in front of those fans. And we're the same way here. Like, honestly, for a Rangers fan, and I kind of hate the fact that we kind of got good when we did back in, 2010 to 2013 when we were making runs and playoff runs because it became such a bigger disappointment. Growing up, we would make a trip to Texas. Living in Oklahoma, we would come down and usually made it during the Mariners because I was a Ken Griffey Jr. kid, as everybody who was born from 1985
everybody should be a Ken Griffey Jr. kid, period. I don't care if you're old, young, middle-aged, you should love him.
Right. Ken Griffey Jr. was the best thing to happen to baseball for the 90s. And I think it carried on a lot of, the players like Aaron Judge and John Carlos Stanton and Bryce Harper. If there wasn't that swagger that Griffey had, I don't think baseball may be as
he brought
fun
pop
as
culture into it, which is important. That was very important. He tried, NBA's very pop culture-y, and I used to hate that aspect, but I think that's very important with kids these days, is to bring more social awareness and more of the bat flips and Yasiel Puig going crazy and kissing, his coach and stuff like that. I think that stuff is so important. I think that's why people really love the Cut 4 content. So if we have a Ken Griffey Jr. every single, era of baseball won't be a dying sport.
No. And that's the problem, is there's a lot of people that think that it is a dying sport. And I know they're trying to make aspects of the game that are different. I don't necessarily agree with everything that's going on. I don't think it's a time thing as much of there's not as much flowing offense and defense as basketball and hockey. And I mean, football, you've got a lot of dead time, and no one seems to bitch about that, but that's neither here nor there. But it's one of those things that I think it's going to be a topic along the way. We finally ended up with some type of news. Do you think the Eric Hosmer signing over the weekend is going to change the way that we go forward for this rest of this offseason? Do you think that's going to kind of get the ball rolling on getting some more players signed?
I hope so. I don't know why I'm so stressed out over JD Martinez not making a damn deal, but it's stressing me out, especially like when you have big names on the free agent list like we do. We're still waiting for Arrieta to get on a team, and then Hosmer, we kind of anticipated it, but even the John Carlos Stanton signing was pretty shocking. That was very behind the scenes type of stuff, which I think is great. I kind of love knowing that I don't know every little chicken nugget of information that's out there. I think it's awesome, but at the same time, I want to know, and fantasy owners want to know, you have to think of the ballpark factor. You have to think about like the community, like how much he's going to fare with his team and get along with his team and everything like that. So I'm hoping it starts something, but I thought the JD Martinez would have signed, and everything would have fallen into place, especially with the Red Sox, because, they're going to be okay with or without JD Martinez. Obviously it's a huge power to bolster their offensive lineup, but at the same time, after that's done, we have to figure out, as a Red Sox fan, they're kind of like, well, what the hell, man? Like, all these other teams are making these big moves and we're waiting on you. So I'm hoping it kind of starts a domino effect, but who knows?
See, I'm a diehard Red Sox fan. Corey is a diehard Rangers fan, and people in Dallas are pissed because there's nothing going on. They signed Bartolo Colon, Trevor Plouffe. They pulled out on the Korean player, last name Oh. His first name slips my mind. They pulled out on that side. They haven't really done anything, and they're sitting there $70 million away from having they have $70 million that they're just sitting there doing nothing with. They could pick up Arrieta to try to do something to replace you, but it just seems like this whole market has been slowed, and so hopefully with this Hosmer signing, it might pick up. But like you were talking about the Stanton signing, that was a really big deal. And tomorrow, which today is Sunday while we're doing this interview, Monday, the Aaron Judge and Stanton will take their first batting practice together. And do you think that it's as big of a deal as people are making, or do you think it's just another day at the ballpark?
I hope it is a big deal because I want more fans to watch the damn game. And if that means watching Aaron Judge and John Carlos Stanton, who are the type of players to bring the casual fans into it, to really love it. People were falling in love with Chris Bryant because he had pretty blue eyes. And at first it used to piss me off, but then I'm thinking about it, like, I love baseball so much. And if you're going to just be a cleat chaser and love Chris Bryant because he's a handsome man, but that's fine. You're going to spend money and go watch the damn game. And hopefully you learn something, and hopefully you understand why people love the sport so much. That's fine. People are going to, have that mentality. But, at the end of the day, I'm hoping that they get along. A lot of people have this weird, and I've been talking to a lot of people, they don't think they're going to get along after a while. I don't know if it's going to be an ego thing, because I know Aaron Judge is super humble, and I don't know if it's going to maintain that throughout his career. It probably won't, because let's be honest, the amount of money he's about to get paid, and he's going to have a fabulous future. You don't really know how it's going to play out, but to have two big personalities like that on one team is going to be interesting to watch. But I also love knowing that these little kids are going to watch two guys. Like, I would love if my future children looked up to a guy like Aaron Judge or Mike Trout or Giancarlo Stanton, who, you know, aren't assholes by any means and just humble and great human beings. And that makes me happy. You know, I've also been very lucky. I haven't really dealt with a lot of, you know, a-hole players at all. And so that's been kind of nice. But I'm hoping it's a really good, you know, I guess, start to a really good season. There's some tension going on with, like, you know, the Players Association and Scott Boras and all this other stuff. I'm just hoping like that kind of dies down. This is a great way to kind of start a great season. There's going to be so much competition. I can't wait. So I'm hoping it sticks out and starts off with a good foot.
Right. No, that's, I think it would honestly, I'm not a Yankees fan, but I would be all for another home run chase within a team.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, how cool would that be? Someone chasing 70 home runs, chasing the Bonds record, and they're both on the same team?
Mm-hmm.
Batting, you know, yeah, I would sit and watch every Yankees game and hate my life, but for those at-bats, like, I would live and die with it.
Yeah.
So let's get away from the baseball, the curve. So our show is Cold Beers and Curveballs. So you're at a lot of different ballparks. What are some of your beers that you like to try?
So I love I love IPAs lately. And I'm like a wine girl, but I'm kind of a snob with wine. Like, you can't drink wine out of a plastic cup unless if you want to be looked at like a fucking lady. Like, that's disgusting. You can't do it. And I know that sounds silly, but I've taken the wine classes. Sommeliers told me, like, don't drink out of a plastic cup because you won't be drinking the right forms of wine. So when you hear that person being kind of a snob about the type of wine glasses that you're drinking of, that person knows what they're talking about because it changes the way that it tastes. But I always love my Goose IPAs when I go to an A's game. It just makes me happy. And I'm a lightweight. I can only afford really one beer on my salary because that's a $20 beer pretty much. So I have my right. IPA, my Red Vines, and hopefully somebody just buys me a pretzel and just shuts me up. So I usually stick with the IPAs. But sometimes I'm feeling like a girl and I just want my damn, Blue Moon with the fat orange in it, and don't judge me. And I don't really think the orange does anything, but it's cute and it makes me happy. I don't want to be judged, but lately at the ballpark, I don't have time to drink beer. I can't drink beer when I'm working. So that really blows because I feel like sometimes you have to enjoy a beer. It's a social atmosphere for me, when I go to a game and enjoy it. And so it's going to be really interesting, so I'm an IPA girl. I like my wheats. And one of my best friends, she's like a super beer snob, but I'm relatively new to the beer thing. And I just kind of ask her like, hey, would I like this? And usually it's like the blonde ales or something like that, but I'll go crazy and do an IPA, but anything darker than that, no, honey, I don't do that.
That ain't you. You're not about that life.
I am not about if it's darker than the wine that I drink, no.
See, if you come to Dallas, if you come to the Texas Rangers game this season, you need to try to bookend yourself 2 or 3 days because we have so many fucking breweries around here that you can just try whatever you want. It's amazing. One of the guys that we talked to, Jeremy Mitchell, he has the company Mitchell Bat Company. But we talked to him last week and he swears that the best beer he's ever had was a Budweiser at Busch Stadium.
I can see that.
And I don't know if it's nostalgia or if it's actually just that good there because it's brewed 3 blocks away.
And you know what? And that could be it. I feel like sometimes I had Budweiser last night, but I had a lot of different alcohol last night. We won't go there. But the end of the night with a Budweiser. Yeah, I mean, I'm still standing, so it didn't knock me on my ass or anything. But it was good. But sometimes, if it, you have a beer out of a can or a beer out of a bottle just tastes better. Or like a Corona out of a out of a bottle will sometimes be the most amazing thing ever. And that could be, when I'm at Tahoe taking in some sun and it just tastes extra good that day, or when you're craving it, you're craving the carbonation and stuff like that. I love wine, but it's like there's days where I'm like, I need a beer. I need just my carbonation. I need to get a little bit of a buzz, and it's nice and warm out. Just let me make this happen, and everything's good. So it just usually depends on the vibe. I think that definitely makes a difference.
See, yeah, that's me too. Like, I drink Lone Star beer all the time because it's, it's not like it's the best tasting beer, but it's a consistent beer. I know what I'm getting day in and day out when I buy it and I drink it. And the same thing with Shiner around here. But the rumor I heard is that the Nashville Sounds, the AAA affiliate for the A's, actually, they have a whiskey and Coke icy.
I don't hate that. I love whiskey.
No.
I love whiskey too much.
Do you feel like that should be something implemented into every major league and minor league ballpark, the whiskey and Coke icy? I feel like that should be a new staple right there with peanuts, Cracker Jacks, hot dogs, nachos.
I mean, I feel like it should be
whiskey Coke icy.
That should be a staple with everything, not just baseball games.
Like, that's like a thing I could probably go make at 7-Eleven up here. Just hit the liquor store first.
Yeah.
So you were talking about being a cleat chaser.
I'm not a cleat chaser. I'm not a cleat chaser.
Not even for Joey Votto?
I'm not a cleat chaser at all. No.
No, you told me earlier you had an infatuation with Joey Votto.
Oh, I love him. Just because he's just like the coolest guy to like. He's just different. He's fun to cover because he just does very cut-for-y things. He just says the first thing out of his mouth. And, if you've been around athletes as long as I have, like, it's a redundant scenario for the most part. Like I said, I've been lucky. I get a lot of guys with personality, and that's great, but they're not always going to be super, fantastic to talk to. And he's just great to work with and just gives us so much content and is a sweet man. And he just does quirky things, but he also, like, doesn't care that everybody has an issue. A lot of people have an issue with that. And I don't really understand why, because he's fun and he's original and he's unique. And I think that's fabulous. And he's just different. So I think that's why I really geared towards him.
Who was the first athlete that you kind of had to pull yourself, or who's the first ball player you had to pull yourself together and remind yourself that you're working?
I didn't.
Because you were starstruck by him or fangirl. You haven't had anybody.
I mean, Tim Lincecum was pretty cool, but I think that was because everybody else was starstruck around him that I like kind of have to remind myself, like, oh shoot, this guy has, a couple Cy Young awards. And, after meeting him, I fell in love with him too. Like, as a player, I wanted him to just work really hard and make it because he was so nice and so awesome to the fans around him and everything like that. But so far, so good. Nothing really happened. Like, I thought I was going to get starstruck around Luis Gonzalez, and I didn't. So, even talking to Dallas Braden was kind of cool the other day, but, I grew up watching him, obviously, as an A's fan. But, I talked to Mike Trout on the phone. That wasn't weird. I thought I would be, and I wasn't weird at all. And I feel like Mike Trout is, like, the guy that you would want to, you would get starstruck, and I was surprised I didn't. But I feel like if I ever met Cal Ripken Jr., I would like go, I'd be a little freaked out, but in a good way, because he's like my all-time favorite baseball player.
See, I think I would rather meet his brother Billy.
I mean, yeah, I could see that.
Like, he seems like he would be more of the kind of guy that, like, I would have a drink with.
Oh, I mean, like, yeah, absolutely. But I was born in Baltimore, raised in a Baltimore household, so meeting the man, the myth, the legend would be like, good gosh.
Right.
My brother would never have anything on me after that. Because he's got kids and he's got his family, and he's like the golden child, and I'm just sitting here like, I mean, obviously I'm doing well for myself, but he's got like the adult thing. But if I ever met Cal Ripken Jr., I could be like, bro, I don't care what you do for the rest of your life. I met Cal Ripken Jr.
Right,
Suck
and
it.
you get something signed for the parents, and you're good, right?
I don't ask for autographs. That would get me fired.
Don't. That's always odd.
Yeah.
Like, it always feels awkward with things like that.
Well, I would literally get.
I don't.
But I also don't like when some players. I get it. You want to take selfies with Tim Lincecum or something like that's fine. Like, I find that trashy too. But here we are. I saw that a couple times.
Look at you. You were like the female Ken Rosenthal. Like, you are so like professional.
I try.
Yet you cuss and you you know about IPAs. Like,
Well,
I'm telling you,
I'm close with it.
no wonder you're getting 1 to 3 marriage proposals.
Well, I mean, some of the like you have to be professional, but you have to have fun. You want them to like open up to you and and you want to be charismatic, but at the same time, you don't want them walking all over you. And you hear these horror stories of people get treated like shit in the media, and you wonder why. And it's like, well, probably because like you let them to a certain extent. If you don't take it seriously, they're not going to take it seriously. So I don't understand why there's all these issues, but just go out there and do your damn job. But be respectful, and you'll get a lot accomplished. And that's why I have so many great networking things as it is. I don't understand why there's so many issues with people complaining about things, and you watch them, you understand. It's like, well, you're not taking it seriously, so they're not going to take you seriously.
Right. No, I remember, I think it was like back 2011 and 2012. One of my buddies is a clubby for the Detroit Tigers, and there was a woman that was fired in the media because she was taking pictures in the shower area, like was kind of getting around that area and was taking pictures of guys as they were coming out of the shower, and she was shocked she was fired. And it's like, well, you're a fucking idiot.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't be inside there doing that. But no. So talking with Mike Trout, and we've got Chris Bryant, Bryce Harper, those are the 3 guys that really stick out. In your opinion, who do you think has the ability to be this generation's King Griffey Jr.? Who do you think is going to carry it forward?
Without
you think Mike Trout's it?
But that's more than just, his playing ability. Like, I think about if my kids wanted to look up to somebody, obviously I wouldn't mind either one of all 3 of them. Like, people don't like Bryce Harper's attitude, but I like Bryce Harper's attitude because he's not really fake. I think that's important. But Mike Trout is literally like the man you think of when you think of the person you want your child to be like. If my daughter or my son said, hey, I want to be like Mike Trout when I grew up, I would never hesitate for a second. Off the field, he's fabulous. He loves his fans. He's great with kids. He's generous, and him and his wife are just great human beings. And he just loves the game. He loves competition. He's just a great human being. And obviously, the numbers are there. He's a 5-tool player, and he just, emulates everything you could ever want in an all-around amazing athlete.
Right. No, he was picked number 1, I think, in Sports Illustrated for top 100 baseball players right now. Mike Trout, he's from everything that I've seen outside of being a Eagles fan, he's a great guy. But no, that was kind of what I was wondering. So you mentioned earlier, Cut 4, you guys love Tim Tebow. It was mentioned earlier that the manager for the Mets, which kind of is a train wreck for the past 2 seasons, he's kind of inherited a lot of shit that he's going to have to work through for the next foreseeable future. What do you think about the comments that you would see Tim Tebow in the majors?
So I wish you guys, there was a timeline for me, for people to watch me go through the Tim Tebow stuff. I went from hating it at the beginning. I thought it was BS. I was so sick of hearing about him. I was so sick of just girls going gaga over him. And then as time went on, I was like, wait a second. Homeboy, might actually make it. And he kept, he got his promotions, and people were playing with him. Some of my friends were playing with him, and they were aware of the media and stuff, but they mentioned, he's a great guy, and he's a good athlete too. And, in that organization, if he was on any other team, I don't know if it would be a little bit more far-fetched. It's just not as far-fetched because it's the Mets. And I felt like that's important too. So but it also kind of gets me mad. I hope they're not doing it for publicity stunt, having Russell Wilson on the Yankees taking up a roster spot for a kid who deserves it. That kind of pisses me off. I think that's BS. But I hope with Tim Tebow, it's a little bit of a different scenario because he's going out there and he wanted a chance and he got it. And I feel like obviously he got a little bit of a boost because of his personality and everything like that, and the hookups he has and the connections he has, and that's fine. But he went out there and he played with everybody else, and he did, the exact same things. He was hitting bombs over the fence. I don't care what degree of or what step of baseball you're in. It's still difficult to hit a baseball with a bat. It just is what it is. That's just how it's always been. I don't care if it's rookie ball. I don't care if the guy's throwing a change up, what have you. It's difficult. So he proved himself, and if it was any other organization, I'd laugh at you. But now it's it might actually happen. You never know.
Do you think he'll start the season out at AAA?
No, I don't think he'll start out at AAA. Absolutely not.
All right. Well, that's going to be it. So we're going to finish it up with Tebow news.
Our God is greater, our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God.
Guys, it is kind of upsetting, but Tim Tebow has a sprained ankle. He should be back here in the next few days with the ability to play again. He was hitting bombs off of a shed out in Florida during spring training, but if all things stay the same, we may be seeing Tim Tebow in a New York Mets uniform, and that should scare people because that's not the way that baseball's been played. I haven't seen anything like this since Deion Sanders was playing. It should be very interesting to see, but we hope that he comes back. He's always a fun topic. He's always fun to talk about. People think we make fun of him. We do poke fun at him. We don't make fun out of him, but that's how it is. That's all we've got this week, guys. Check us out. Facebook, Cold Beers and Curveballs. Instagram, Cold Beers and Curveballs. Twitter, CB and CB Podcast. Guys, we are on iTunes. We are here on Spreaker. We are on Google Play. We are now on iHeartMedia. So if you have the iHeartRadio app, check that out. We are on iHeartRadio. We're working on getting with Stitcher and Spotify, hopefully coming up for this season. Also be ready to check out the video cast that will be going simultaneously with the live podcast. It'll just basically be the video version of it. Some cool stuff. If you want to see me and Corey sit around for 45 minutes and talk about baseball while drinking beer in a very small area, definitely a show to check out. It will be on YouTube and on Facebook Live. So be ready for that. Guys, until next time, which will actually be here pretty quick. Keep watching that baseball. Keep drinking those cold beers. Check out our buddies at Mitchell Bat Company. Check out Ninth Inning Texas. Check out Charge the Mound. And remember, drink responsibly, but don't play baseball responsibly. We'll see you guys next time.